All right, I'm bringing to order the November 9th, 2020 Energy Advisory Committee meeting. Welcome, everybody. We have all committee members in attendance, including Jamie Webb from the Planning Department. So I guess first order of business will be to review and approve the September 28th meeting minutes. Scott sent those out earlier by email. I reviewed them. I didn't have any comments. Does anybody have any comments? Okay. Hearing none. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Jamie. Second.
I'll second that.
Marion seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, minutes are approved. All right, public speak. Jamie, you got anything to say? You're not technically public.
This Jamie. I don't have anything at the moment. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. We gotta figure out a way to Jamie Planner or Jamie Member. So we gotta figure out. Or I'll just go by last names, Paquette and Webb.
No worries. That's what they used to do in high school.
Yeah, I was always Judd in high school and football growing up, so never went by my first name. All right. So next on the agenda, my favorite agenda item, nominating and voting on a new chair for the committee. So instead of doing nominations, is anybody willing to volunteer to be the chair of the committee?
I am willing to be the chair, but I did want to give Misty an opportunity if she has any interest. I think having women in leadership is a good thing. So, I'd be happy to support that.
I really appreciate that. I'm just going to tell you guys, I'm trying to finish up a grad program, and with this pandemic, I've been crushed the last 3 months. I'm pulling like 90-hour weeks. I've got 2 more weeks left of this, and then I've got 1 more semester. That's next spring, and it's going to be the same schedule. So in fairness, I don't know if I've got the kind of time that a chairperson really needs to dedicate to it. I'm happy to consider a secretarial role, but so I really appreciate that. But I could do it for a couple months, and then next spring I'll be back in the same boat.
Right.
Well, and just to clarify, I think a couple pieces that are important to understand as we're talking is right. So in terms of the chair, at least where we are at right now, the primary piece of being the chair is that you're sort of tracking, putting together the agenda, putting that into city council, making sure that the Zoom link is properly uploaded to the city government website, and then just sort of facilitating the meetings. That's the primary piece. Then the secretary really role is just to take minutes and to then be able to send those back out to the group afterwards. I think that the other pieces, might be more around a case-by-case sort of basis of sort of taking leadership on a different project and maybe presenting it to the mayor, or, being pulled into other things depending on what comes up, but that's also definitely based on skill set, based on availability, all those things like that. So it doesn't, neither of those 2 designated roles have to mean a whole lot more than what was just listed. So just to clarify.
Yeah, good example. And another good example, recently when we talked about PACE funding last year, as the chair, I'm the one that wrote the email to the mayor and to the city council president. That was basically just as a chair role of writing the formal email after we had the discussion and attaching our recommendations and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's basically the chairperson's role at this stage. I mean, we can always take it to a higher level down the road, but yeah, at this point, that's where it is. And I think considering the world that we're in right now, that's probably all we really need to do right now until life gets a little easier.
I'm happy to take it on. I've got a lot more time and a lot more flexibility the next couple months. And then that may be enough for me to get my feet back under me and get a good handle on the role. If other things can be, like Maren said, apportioned out according to skill set, that's fine. I don't have any issue with it at all. But I want to give people who have been here have been, consistently coming to the meetings. If it's a role that they really want, also in fairness, I want to give them an opportunity to take it on. So.
Well, I mean, Mr. To be honest, it was really only that one meeting you missed. Besides me and Maren, the other 3 members are brand new also. So
I was going to say, yeah, you're as experienced as I am. So.
yeah.
All right, Scott, then we're in it together. I'll be happy to take it on. And, if you're pretty comfortable in the secretary role and seems like you are, then I will jump in and take it over.
Okay, great. And yeah, I mean, any support I can offer, I'm happy to do.
Thank you. Maybe just catching me up a little bit, but we'll do that later.
Right.
All right, thanks.
So to make this official, I'd like to nominate Misty Altsizer as the chair of the Energy Committee after the ending of this meeting going forward. I have a second.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It is unanimously approved. Congratulations, Misty. You are the chair of the Energy Advisory Committee.
Hey, while you're at it, can you also eliminate the pandemic?
I voted last week, so.
Right.
Just to record keeping business.
Yep.
If someone can just communicate that to the mayor's office and the city clerk. Just keep track of who the current chairs are and email addresses and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'll do that at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
While we're talking about just sort of general membership questions like that, Jamie, I just wanted to, obviously you're still here and that's great. You're always welcome. I know that the city has hired, what's Cassie's official title? Is she sustainability coordinator? Or?
No, she's the conservation agent.
Okay.
So she's basically the administrative staff for the Conservation Commission. And she is, my understanding is she's part-time and has received we hired a new assistant planner to take over the permitting and land use permitting boards. And so that position started later, I believe, than was anticipated. So she received some of those hours for the remainder of this year to bump her up to more hours, but still part-time. And so I think with those more hours, she's been taking on some extra work in the department. She recently worked on the Green Communities Grant report. But I think I don't know what the plan is going forward past June 30th.
Okay. So then you'll be the one that'll still be coming to our meetings and sort of engaging us then on that.
Most likely. She may join in. I don't really know.
Okay.
Can I get her last name for the minutes?
It's Tragert, Tragert.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you for clarifying that, Jamie. I just wanted to, just because I was the one interacting with her on the Green Communities report, I did just want to report back that I don't think this was on the agenda. Stephen, can I just go ahead and give a quick sort of update on?
Go ahead.
Okay. I know we're real formal here.
Yeah.
But I've been doing the Green Communities report for, I don't know, let's say 8 or 9 years. I don't remember exactly how long I've been doing it. And this last time was really wanting somebody within the city districts to take that back on. I felt like there was things being missed or not the Green Communities Grant, which is sort of our tap into funding and different things like that, was not as integrated into the city as I felt it could be. And so I said that I was going to step back from continuing to doing that grant writing or writing the grant, not the grant, excuse me, writing the report. Because it's also, there's a really amazing Mass Energy Insight website that is used that tracks all of the data and energy consumption within the city. It's a pretty spectacular tool. And I felt like that in particular really would be better if somebody within the staff of the city was in that database and seeing that information and raising questions and hopefully helping drive some work forward because of it. And so I sort of put up the flag and said, I'm stepping out from doing this anymore now that there's a little bit more support within the city to do this. So Cassie just did that report and put all the data together and filed the report on Monday, or Friday last week, I guess. And so that's great
Nice.
and exciting to have both being
It's like
done
2 months ahead of time, right?
What was that?
That's like 2 months ahead of time, right?
No, it was due Monday. It was due today, and she sent it on Friday.
Oh, it's 3 days ahead of time.
Right. One working day.
And where is that report housed?
Good question. It's not housed anywhere right now for public consumption. That might be something that I don't know if Jeff would want to get put up onto the website or something like that. That might be something for you guys to look into doing.
Yeah.
Could we at least get a copy of it?
Yeah. I will forward you guys a copy of that report because I was sent that report, so I can send that around to everybody in this list. And Jamie, then something maybe to look into the future if Jeff wants to, get that posted publicly, that might be a good thing as well. Again, there's lots of really great information that's involved in that, and so I think it's really helpful. One of the things that was interesting, and because I wasn't as closely in the details this time, but the report that Cassie submitted said that the energy consumption in the city went down by 19.1% from our baseline. What?
Because Whitebrook's been closed for the last 9 months.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole long conversation about why, but we've been running consistently about 5% of reduction from our baseline in 2010 for the last few years. We did do a bunch of work of energy efficiencies at our school buildings and some other things happened, but we really weren't being able to push past that, particularly because of how much of an energy hog Whitebrook is. So anyway, that's been going on. But she put forward the proposal and the report and put that in. I'll send that around to everybody. If the purpose of the Green Communities Report is to push communities to get to 20% reduction in their energy consumption. And I'll say it this way. So one of the schizophrenic aspects of the Department of Energy Resources or DOER is that within this Green Communities Report, they want to know about all the renewable energy choices we're making, but you don't get credit for any of the renewable energy choices. The only credit they really give you is on your energy efficiency and reduction. So they're wanting you to reduce your energy consumption by 20%, but you can't say, well, we reduced it. I mean, we're generating 100% renewable energy now, but we didn't reduce it. So they don't really actually care. They're only going to say you did a good job if you've reduced your energy consumption. So it's a little schizophrenic because they want you to go green as well and have renewable energy. And so as a city, we've got the solar facility on the high school. We've got the landfill, Oliver Street, and then we also get sent energy credits on for our electricity bills for our Deerfield solar facility. But that didn't reduce our energy consumption. We've only did it by 5% on average up to this point. So anyway, her report has us down there at 19%. So that's a huge jump. Yes, it's definitely because our school buildings and other places have been much less used over the last bunch of months. But I also haven't looked into the data to sort of dig into why or what's going on there. But it's still a nice sort of thing that we're able to see, and maybe we can sustain a piece of that as we move forward. Certainly with the new school building coming online, next winter, we'll be able to see some reductions in savings from that as well.
Yeah. What's interesting with all of that is play this out 10, 20 years. If you're electrifying the economy, the whole point is to move everything over to electricity to remove fossil fuel use. But by this whole green community metrics, you're always going to be out of luck because your electricity usage is going to skyrocket because you have to replace the fossil fuels for heating and stuff. But that seems interesting. They just don't give credit if you're fueling it by carbon-free resources.
Yeah, I think that hopefully down the line they will pay attention to that more. But I think that for right now, anyway, it has not been. That's why. I mean, that's why it's always sort of, in my opinion, sort of calling it a schizophrenic kind of program, because they didn't understand, or they didn't have the big picture in mind when they were sort of asking us to look at only energy reduction and not what we're putting into that energy as well. So.
Or it seems like even a basic thing for the electricity usage for the BTU calculation for each kilowatt hour, for every one that you offset with solar, you just get a 0 BTU for that kilowatt hour.
Mm-hmm.
And then over time, if you were fully electric but fully solar, you would still be at 0 because you're not. Now, granted, solar is only during the day, and you have to have other resources at night to back that up. But that's more greater grid discussions in green communities. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Maren, I just have another quick question too. As part of that data, are they still tracking the types of energy that we're using? I know it's all about the reduction, but are they parsing out what types of energy we're using, and just for our own internal use?
So Mass Energy Insight, the website, has that data. I just sent you the Green Communities report, so you should all have that now in your inbox. If you go to, there's a criteria 3 progress table 2. That's where you'll see the breakdown. And no, it doesn't in that location break it down by energy type, but it does break it down to basically all of those energy types are then calculated into MMBTUs, sort of as the common denominator. And then so that we can track those within our buildings, within our street lights and vehicles, water and sewer. And then you also weatherize to normalize stuff data too. So that's how it's tracked in terms of this report. And it would take going into the website to really look at how we're getting to that MMBTU. So unfortunately, no, it's not there. You don't get to see that data without going into the website.
But that report that I had sent out to everybody that UMass had done the last couple of years, that did break stuff down by fuel type. And that's a fairly recent report, last couple of years. So if you're looking for that, if you open up that report, that should have it broken down by fuel.
I just wonder, I mean, what do you guys think about the usefulness of that information? I just thought it might be useful for our own use to have a comparison, and when we're talking to the mayor about, this is where we were and this is where we're at with this type of energy. Obviously, for the sake of this report, it's not being tracked by energy type, it's being tracked by energy reduction. Mm-hmm. But I don't know what you guys think about the usefulness of that.
I think I was going to say, once White Brook closes, I think that's when we start looking at this, because I'm not sure but White Brook at one point was up to a third of the entire city's energy use in MMBTUs. So when you take away that one building, that's a huge drop. Now, granted, you're going to replace it with the school, but it's much more energy efficient than all 4 of the existing buildings. So at this point, we're just kind of waiting it out until the numbers stabilize on what we're going to be on our new baseline. And then I think that's probably the best time to start looking into where can we get savings and stuff like that. Because right now, I think we're just so skewed by White Brook. It's just it's not worth trying to dig into the numbers too much, because it's it's on a timetable of another 12 months, and then that thing's going to start to be plowed down. So
the other thing too is that the other school buildings, you've got Center School that has heating oil that it uses, I believe.
Maple does too, right?
No, Maple's all gas, I believe.
Really?
So there's some other heating sources that are used in the other school buildings that are also coming offline. So again, those things will change and hopefully help move us away from some of those more dirtier, higher MMBTU, for those types of fuel types.
Yeah, and even for gas, for example, like because we're on the moratorium, you can't increase your gas connection size. So that was actually a concern with the new school. Maren knows a lot about this, but so we actually, with the brand new school, that's probably 3 times the amount of students. We didn't require a larger gas connection because Whitebrook is so inefficient. So that's actually one small point that helped us from them being in this. We have a big enough gas pipe going into the new school that we didn't have to look at other sources at this time to be able to supply that because of just how inefficient Whitebrook was and how efficient the new building will be.
Yeah, I forget the exact number, but I want to say the new school is going to be maybe a third of even natural gas of what we've been consuming at Whitebrook. So it is going to be reducing quite a bit. And then that's not even taking into account all the other schools in terms of how much natural gas. The overall kilowatt hours are going to go up. But I think it's 120 kW system is going to be built on the roof there as well. So we're going to have a new solar system to offset some of that. And so, yeah, there's some places that overall energy consumption is going to be pretty significantly dropped when we move away from the 4 school buildings and go into the new school building.
Not to mention we get air conditioning for all the full school buildings, which is a huge thing come next summer.
Yep.
Does the Green Communities Report and this tracking, does it account for, changes to buildings, like removal of buildings and adding stuff and whatever? Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So we did the old high school was swapped out previously and stuff like that. So yeah, it'll change some of that matrix and it'll make it harder to compare and it'll be a little bit more confusing, but that's partly what Cassie or whoever else will be dealing with. So
yeah. And Marion, if I remember correctly, when we switched out the new high school with the old high school, it wasn't just a straight looking at the city as a whole. There was some weird calculations on a new building versus an old building. It wasn't like if one uses 100,000 kilowatt hours and the other one uses 33,000 kilowatt hours, you saved 67,000 kilowatt hours straight off the bat.
Yeah, I don't remember how exactly they did all the equations right now, but yeah, there's some baseline for that new building kind of stuff. So
yeah,
right. Is the 20% goal right? Does that shift based on how old your buildings are and stuff like that generally, or is it 20% like just always? And that's the goal. And then okay, so if you have like an older building stock, it may probably easier to hit that to a degree than if you've got newer stuff.
Well, yeah, and
yes,
I think
no.
The program overall is a little too generic, I guess is the one way to say it. So it's but I think that they've had like 4 districts across the state have actually achieved those savings outside of COVID kind of situation. So it's not a program that has shown a lot of success because of how they've sort of boxed themselves into the expectations of that savings. So there's been a lot of work in terms of how to work the edges of the program. And there is a state rep that's out here in Western Massachusetts that's worked with us. It just recently changed who was doing that, but they've been helpful and we've certainly worked with them a lot. We work with utilities to find different grants, different things like that to sort of help bringing some money in to help us do some different energy efficiency or ECM projects. So energy conservation measures. So lots of acronyms in the energy business.
Yep.
Okay, sorry for getting you off track from the agenda, but just
no, that's fine.
An update in there.
That was a good update because only you and I are kind of familiar, and Jamie or Webb are kind of familiar with that Green Communities Act. So it's good to bring them up to speed on that.
Would that be
I mean,
a
really,
good thing for us to do a little blurb on for the Facebook page to kind of publicize what's going on with energy in the city?
I don't know, Jamie, do you have a thought, or should he, maybe if Scott sent an email to Jeff and got thoughts on that we would like to post something on our Energy Committee website or Facebook page?
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense if, I wouldn't like, if there was like a nice brief blurb to say, we went down 19% energy efficiency, probably due to COVID and, not using buildings. I mean, I think, that's good to put out there. I don't know that I would link to the whole report. It's a little bit overwhelming and too detailed, I think, for most people. And I think similarly, I would refrain from just putting it up as it is on the website. It's, I don't know, not that I'm like trying to hide, data, but it's
causes too many questions.
Yeah, and it's so complicated. You read it and it's like, it's not even really a report as much as it's a bunch of raw data that then, and often we do get requests to revise it after it's been submitted. They go through the report pretty detailed. So, if the 19% is accurate, great. But if it turns out to be an error, an oversight, or something like that, we might want to wait until it's actually accepted and we hear back from the Green Communities program.
And the other turn is in 2021, if we go up another 10%, then all of a sudden we say, yeah, we're a dip, but then we went right back to normal. So I don't think we're going to go fully back to normal as far as that percentage wise, but it may be a blip it's notable, but it's more because of the pandemic than it is because of energy efficiency measures. So it may not be worth.
It just strikes me as some energy news for the city that if you're looking for more relevant contact to communicate and to be relevant as a committee and to have fodder for the Facebook group, it's a thing that we could, and I'd be happy to like read through the report and try to write up a little blurb, send around to you guys to see what you think of it.
Maybe just something like summarizing what Green Communities is, that we're part of it, and that we have to submit an annual report.
Right.
And talk about the goals of the program, to get down 20% in, and we're working towards that, and say, and just not even put like technical details, just say, the new schools are going to have a huge effect on that because of, the old schools retiring with this new energy efficiency school. If you want to put numbers, actually probably good nerdy technical numbers could be the solar output. You could look up what the high school has produced in the last 12 months, what the Oliver Street has, and just put those up and put them in kilowatt hours. So you see the millions, have fun with numbers and play it at, it's big numbers.
Right.
And it's like 2.2 million kilowatt hours or whatever from, and then you could even go back and say, like, what is the history? Because I think that website that I sent out even has like the entire production of Oliver Street from 2013 on. And same thing with the high school, I think gives lifetime numbers. So you might be able to put some of that kind of stuff.
And I bet lots of people in the city don't even know about the landfill or the Deerfield or the high school solar panels. So would just be great to publicize that.
Yeah.
So what I would recommend is if you go within the report in criteria 3 overview, that's a tab on here, there is a narrative piece. And that would be something that, maybe Scott, if you want to sort of take the lead on this, if you wanted to send that to Jeff and say, hey, could we post this narrative piece of information up on the Facebook just to sort of bring attention and give a little bit of an overview blurb of what Green Communities is and why we're in it. I think that might be the place to pull this information and again, definitely I would never put this whole report up there, but that little piece is something that has been looked at and approved in terms of how it was written and what was stated there. So that would be the piece that I might recommend posting. But I would double check for Jeff to get his approval to post that.
Right.
And I just want to
Last
also
name?
BAG, BAGG.
That's right. Thank you.
And I would just also point out that the report is as of June 30th. And so as we're heading into the winter and people start doing all kinds of crazy things to keep buildings COVID free, we might find that, like, you know, buildings that have windows that can open all of a sudden have really high heating costs, even more so than we've seen in previous years with absurd heating costs. So.
Yeah, there's going to be a COVID roller coaster for these numbers. So it's not to say that we've reached that 19% reduction in sort of any kind of real way.
Right.
So, but yeah, double check with Jeff, get his thoughts on whether or not we could post something like that, just as something to report out, or whether or not we need to wait until it's accepted or something like that. I think it's a good.
Man, just a note on here. I was looking at that overview. It says that it's constructing a new school to replace Whitebrook Middle School. Isn't that technically incorrect? Because with the MSBA funding, it's to replace Maple, and it just happens to be replacing the other three along with Maple.
Correct. Yeah.
I don't know if that technically matters. If you guys are worried about that, okay.
I don't think so.
I just noticed that it says it's replacing Whitebrook, but we're not. It's the Maple Elementary project at Whitebrook.
Yeah, well, and tomorrow night it's going to be given a new name, so it's school committee is going to report. It's going to be voting on the new school's name. So
I'm hoping that none of them involve the words White and Brook.
No,
good.
No, we are breaking all past names. There's not going to be any kind of old names or anything like that. I think the current is some sort of version of Mountain View School, so it's got a really gorgeous view of Mount Tom, and so I think that's. Some version of that is likely to be approved, but we'll see.
That wasn't even in the survey when I voted.
Well, it wasn't. It was just asking for what people's ideas were, and it became a write-in. It became one of the write-in names.
Oh, okay.
And so, as on the school building committee, we reviewed all the names and decided that was the name that we wanted to. We voted unanimously to put forward to school committee. And then we'll be looking at those at the school committee. But there's 3 of us school committee members on that committee already, so we already sort of know what the name that's coming to us and what we like and don't like. So,
nice.
Yeah, definitely breaking with tradition and not holding on to the Whitebrook name or anything like that. So,
yeah, I could imagine how that would go over if you rename it Whitebrook.
Yeah.
So. All right, good. So I mean, really, this is the only other things I have. Or just though had on all the other previous ones. I guess I can talk about ideas from third parties, municipal aggregation. So I sent you guys a link from an Energy Gang podcast that I heard. That's actually a really neat podcast. It comes out once a week if you're interested in the future of energy. One of them, they were interviewing the CEO of Solstice Energy, and they're actually based out of Boston, I found out. And they work with developers to do community aggregation, where the developers don't want to deal with millions, hundreds of thousands of accounts for their multi-megawatt solar farm, and but they act like the bridge in between, and they work with the developers and setting up accounts and stuff and they have developed this new thing called an energy score, where instead of using FICO scores, it uses a new calculation for credit worthiness for being able to join it. So it helps different neighborhoods and stuff, disadvantaged neighborhoods and economic reduction. So more people are eligible to join community aggregation than by their FICO score alone. I had reached out to them, and I was hoping to have them speak at the meeting. Unfortunately, they said they had a meeting during our meeting, so they weren't able to join. I asked if they could send me any information. They didn't send me anything before the meeting. But that might be interesting way. They said they don't have any projects in the current area in Western Mass that they could do, but maybe just having a discussion with them on saying, we want to do this type of thing. What would we need to do? And it seems like they're kind of the experts right now in doing something like that. So maybe we can work with them or put an RFP or something like that to figure out how to do this type of thing. What would be involved to even move towards a community aggregation solar facility. So that's the update I have from that. I don't know, Scott, did you follow up anything else with, was it Green Energy, or what was the name of the company that you were?
No, I haven't gone back to them, and I haven't pestered anyone at the city enough to get the usage data. So,
Okay. Do we know about the contract?
Right, that was the question that I haven't ever gotten an answer to.
Okay.
Because I think by now it's probably renewed, right? Because you were thinking it was like November.
Yeah, well, usually those contracts renew, I think when you expire, then they renew on a monthly basis and not on a 3-year basis. Or I don't know, Maren, do you know those third-party supplier contracts? I know for a personal account, it's usually on a month-to-month basis until you renew, but I don't know what the mayor has done in that respect.
It's generally a 3-year contract.
Even on the renewal, automatic renewal, it's another 3 years if you don't give notice. Because I think our last 3-year contract expired either this month or last month, is my thought from memory. Because that was when Mayor Cadger signed the last agreement, I think.
Let me see if I... Yeah, if I had it, it'd be on my other computer. So I'd have to double check there. I don't know if I have the contract. So yeah, no, I'm not sure. It might either, there's different ways they could do it. It could either automatically just renew for another 3 years, which would be horrible for us probably, pricing wise. Yeah, you don't ever really want to have one of those things lock in. So we should look at it and just double check what's going on.
Who at the city would be responsible for that?
I would probably reach to Lindsay in the mayor's office. She would probably be the best to have access to that and be able to look at that and be able to send you out a copy of the contract.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd let her know that we are concerned that the rates that we're locking in with may not be favorable for the city, and that we would like to see the current contract to be able to review that and give some recommendations to the mayor on.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Lindsay's email address. No.
I can look it up too.
Her last name is spelled Mailler.
Okay.
And so it's lmailer@easthamptonma.gov.
Right. Okay.
Jamie, that's right? That's Lindsay's the right person to talk to in the mayor's office?
Generally for everything, yeah. If you want, I often will send things to the mayor, copying Lindsay and Zoe, just to make sure that it gets seen by everyone. But
I think there's also a mayor's office, so a plural mayor's office at easthamptonma.gov. That also is an email address that can be, it's a generic email one that can get seen by the mayor and her staff.
Okay.
It's interesting with the reduction in energy usage this year. I'm curious about our solar production, because I think my solar production is above average this year. That means everybody else's is above average.
Right.
So
Mine was really good.
And our electricity usage was below average.
Right.
So I wonder if that's the perfect storm for us running out of SRECs or net metering credits. But
yeah, I mean, in terms of the Deerfield facility, Yeah, that would be something for them to be paying attention to and seeing if like electricity bills are at zero or with credits being built on right now. I don't know. I don't know what's happened there.
Yeah.
I was on a sort of sub meeting group that had a couple different people from different departments that were looking at those. And it never fully got totally kind of pieced out and sort of clarified who's doing what and how to sort of get on track with a more robust tracking system of that. So I don't know, Jamie, do you know if that sort of those conversations have continued upstairs? I'm going to assume not. And so I'm sure each individual department, right now they get electricity bill and they pay that electricity bill, and then they get another bill from the Deerfield facility, and they may or may not be paying attention to seeing that. At least it's been pointed out to them that they should be tracking that stuff and individually making sure that there's not issues, that they are getting the credits they're supposed to be getting. But what's the woman in DPW? I'm forgetting her name right now. Is that
Michelle?
Michelle? Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and just to, COVID, we were starting to have these conversations. I think we met in January, February, and then COVID kind of put an end to that, and people are just trying to more or less do what they had been doing, and I don't think there was any extra capacity. It also, came down from we needed someone to really mandate what was going on, and it didn't really happen that it was something that the planning department could pick up because it involved school department, DPW, planning, the finance department, and it was a much bigger issue when we started to look into it. Disappointing, but
yeah, and unfortunately the mayor's office is not choosing to sort of help hold that or have the finance department sort of hold that space. So it sort of means that we continue to sort of fly a little blind in this area, and it's not the best, but it's probably everything is okay. But
I guess it'll become to the forefront when it's not okay.
Yeah.
At that first time when one of those facilities doesn't get a net metering credit that they're expecting, I'm sure there'll be lots of phone calls made very quickly. So, and
bills
maybe
are
that's
being
just
paid. It's not a question of not paying the bills. It's just more like making sure that the billing is correct and making sure that that the people who are looking at those things understand what they're double checking to make sure that when they're paying that bill, that's they're taking a look at what their bill was and what their savings was, and that it's all sort of being accurately invoiced. So,
yeah. Well, aggregate picture though, if the Deerfield facility doesn't get all the SRECs that they were expecting on a 1-for-1 basis for what they're net metering with us, then they're losing out on revenue. So they're going to most likely give us a call. If it got to that point.
Of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a solar facility manager, unless it really gets on their radar screen, it's probably they're not even realizing it either. So, but we'll see what happens.
So, okay. I mean, I guess we've notified people of it, that it's a potential issue, and if the city wants to, the cities can't force the city to do stuff, I guess would be the right way to do it or say it. So I guess we can leave it for that for now. And at least the third party contract we should at least pursue, just because that's a big thing for all 20 something accounts. So
correct. I agree with that.
Okay. Any other discussion? I didn't really have any other agenda items. Any new or other business?
Don't think so.
Jamie, do you have anything? I know we were going to talk with Jeff to get some videos of using the new chargers, but we never heard back from Jeff. I know Maren and I had an email exchange for a bit.
Okay.
But I think the ones at 50 Payson are fully operational now, right?
They are fully operational, and signs are up and working. So,
I guess if you guys want to do any promotional video, and I know Jeff has done a lot of promotional videos and been great about that, let us know if you want our cars to be involved. If not, we should probably do something that promotes that, though, because they are available for anybody in our community to go there. You do pay for it, right? I haven't actually plugged in there.
I assumed that the user would pay for it.
Well, not all places. You have this as a city. We can choose whether or not there's a billing or not. So maybe it would be good to get if Jeff could let us know what the payment is there, and maybe if there's like, I don't know what we're billing for that, if that's trying to raise any money towards anything in particular. If there's, I mean, I think we should be doing some sort of splash, and we would love to do some sort of splash on our Facebook page, because I think right now, and of course it's COVID and we're all overtaxed with what's going on, but I don't think there's people who know what those are. I don't think people know that they're public and available to be used. I don't think there's been any real promotion of them within our community, and that's fine. But I mean, it would be ideal to sort of say one more thing, like, bring your EV charger, bring your EV car to Easthampton and plug in right across from our boardwalk, and, do a little promotion of that thing. That should be a nice, another perk feather in our cap as a community. And nothing has happened as far as I know publicly. So,
and same thing for the ones at the now that Pleasant Street and Ferry just opened today. I know the chargers aren't in yet on the new parking spots on Lovefield, but maybe as part of that same video, show where those spots are going to go right next to the updated Ferry Street complex. And on another note, I actually have a Mach-E on order, so I should have that. I just found out I have a build date the end of December, so I should have a brand new electric car January, February timeframe that I could plug in on a video.
Nice.
Awesome.
So, for me, I'm not familiar enough with electric vehicles because
Sure.
I have a hybrid.
Ask away.
But is there a website that shows, like in Massachusetts, where the current charging stations are?
There's a couple.
There's a couple, but we use Connect Pay. The cities are Connect Pay. And so you'd probably want to link to the Connect Pay website.
Are they charge point stations?
Huh?
I thought they were charge point stations.
Charge Point. I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, Charge Point.
Yeah, so ChargePoint's is one of the bigger networks across the country, Jamie.
Yeah.
And they have an app, and like even my home charger is a ChargePoint. It's the home version of it, and it shows both my usage at home, and it will show all public charging if I use ChargePoint branded chargers. Okay. And you can set up, just like other things like in Northampton where you can set up that app and pay for your parking meter with a credit card and all that stuff. ChargePoint's the same way. You create an account, you can put a credit card on it, and you can use your phone to unlock the charger, and then plug it in, and it just bills your credit card for whatever the billing rate is for that specific charger. Early chargers used to be free to encourage adoption. Now that there's a lot more, they're starting to charge for them. So then for me personally, with a car that has a gas backup, it comes down to economics. Is it really worth the dollars per kilowatt hour type of thing? So it depends on the type of car, the speed of the charger, all that kind of stuff, and what charging structure, because I don't know what rate structure Jeff and the city decided on for those chargers. If it's a dollars per kilowatt hour, is it a dollars per hour? Because some places are doing dollars per hour no matter what the charge rate is, the speed of charging, because they don't want people to just sit there all day after their car is done charging. So they want to keep billing them to give them an incentive to move their car out of the spot so somebody else can use it. My work actually does that. They do $1 per hour regardless of what speed your car charges at. So if you have a car that charges at 3.6 kilowatts per hour, that's a lot different than if you charge a full EV at 7.2 kilowatts per hour. It basically is half price if you have a fully electric vehicle versus a slower charger. Like some of the plugins like the Volt and the plug-in Prius are slower chargers. So right now it's the Wild West. There's no really single way of doing stuff. I probably have 3 or 4 electric car charging apps on my phone, and another 2 or 3 that are just showing what stations are available. It hasn't really consolidated yet.
Okay.
So it'd be really helpful for you maybe to report back to us, I don't know, from Jeff, to let us know what's going on there.
Yeah, I do know that he was interested in doing it once it got fully operational, and my understanding is only up and running within the last month. So, yeah, I'll prompt him to reach out to Stephen and Marin again about getting that promo video and.
Yeah, because we can both use our cars to plug in for sample cars. So
yeah, maybe showing some of what the apps or whatever, and
yeah,
either
because I can even show on the app how it shows your home charging versus public charging and all that stuff when it comes, because it's all integrated on the same app. So if people have electric cars and they have the same app at home.
Nice.
I don't have any app for my house. I just plug in.
Oh, well, you just use the car charger, yeah? Or do you have a level 2 at home?
Nope.
Well, yeah, I guess the Prius battery is only what, 4 or 5 kilowatt hours?
Yeah, it's not huge. So
Yeah. The new Mach-E, I'm getting the extended range, and that battery is 98 kilowatt hours.
nice.
It's a 1,300 pound battery in a 6,000 pound vehicle. Batteries are there's still some research to be done
Yeah.
when it comes to battery tech,
Definitely.
but it does 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds. So,
Oh yeah, they're fun. Actually, a side funny, interesting thing. So the Nissan Leaf is one of the few vehicles that was originally built with a 2-directional charging station within their own vehicle, so that they can actually send power backwards as well as taking it off the grid. And so what Nissan is trying to promote right now is that there's actually more battery storage available with Nissan Leafs than there is actually installed energy storage batteries across this country right now. And so they are already able to use some of that peak load kind of technology that's starting to come out. And in Massachusetts, there's now the peak standard, clean peak standard that's being pushed forward. So it's kind of one of those fun sort of insider information to know that there's more storage available to be putting back into the grid through batteries of the Nissan Leafs than already existing within our Massachusetts or national structure. So it's kind of cool that way.
what's funny is my master's thesis from 2007 was on plug-in hybrids in the power grid and vehicle-to-grid concept, basically exactly what. But the thing that's been the sticker ever since then has been battery warranties. Nissan finally, they were the first ones to say, we're not going to void our warranty if you do vehicle to grid. Whereas all the other ones, they didn't want to do it because the extra cycles would reduce the battery, and they weren't sure about how long the batteries were going to last when they first started doing excuse me. Started doing electric battery cars. So that's one of the things. And so I think once Nissan's done it, other cars will start to do it. But then there's also, how do you do the market mechanisms to get paid for that? Because that's a whole nother ball of wax when you start playing in the electricity markets as a resource. But yeah, I'm actually a part of, with ChargePoint, Eversource has a program right now. It's in trial version called Connected Solutions, where during you sign up your electric charger, and during periods that they'll announce a day before, they will restrict your charging during critical peak hours and submit that to the ISO markets as demand response. And they will pay you. So it's $75 to sign up, and then you get $50 a year for, or no, it was $150 initially, and then you get like $50 a year for 3 years each year if you participate in all the different events. And the events are like 4 to 8 p.m. And I have my car start charging till 10 o'clock at night anyway. So literally I did absolutely nothing, and I got paid about $300 over 3 years to be a part of this demand response program. But so they're starting to do it that way, where it's not vehicle to grid, but they restrict charging. So that's another way they can do it, where basically you're taking away load on the system from the charging aspect of it, as opposed to positively putting it back on the grid. So that's some things that Eversource is actually doing right now.
Nice.
And it's a free $300, so I'll take it.
Right.
But all right, we're getting to the top of the hour.
Mhm.
Any other discussions? Or I know as far as next meetings, it looked like Mondays from 4 to 5 p.m. worked for everybody. So then I guess my suggestion would be we have another meeting in December. So maybe like, don't want to get too late in December because that always gets crazy with the holidays, although the holidays can be very different this year. But there's always like the 7th or the 14th. I don't know if any of those days work better for everybody. More importantly, Misty, which day works for you as the new chair?
I think I like the 14th better, but the 7th also works. I'm still just a little jammed up around the 7th, but I can make it work if that's better for the whole group.
14th is fine with me.
Yeah.
Either way.
Not going anywhere this year.
No.
Me too. I'll be here.
All right, so let's plan on December 14th from 4 to 5. Misty, I'll take care of emailing Barbara just to get it onto the city calendar. I'll do that tomorrow. But then the next step will be by Thursday the 10th, we would have to have, by 3 p.m., you have to have the agenda sent to the city to be able to have that meeting. That's always been my hardest thing, is just remembering that the agenda has to be sent by the Thursday prior to the meeting at 3 p.m. because they're closed on Fridays. So,
Stephen, do you have that in an agenda in like Word format?
yeah.
Can you just
Well,
send
actually,
that to
the email
Misty?
that last week I copied when I sent it to agendas at last
Oh,
Thursday.
that's still the Word format? Yeah.
That should be in yeah.
So it's
Barbara
just really
converts
easy
it
to
to
change
PDF.
that and keep that up to date. So
That's all I've done for the last 2 years. So,
All right,
Yeah.
I'll just use that same one then.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
okay.
Stephen, you've been
go ahead,
communicating. Who have you been communicating with about the Zoom? Lindsay or Zoe?
Zoe sets up the Zoom meeting. So when I set up in the next meeting, I'll have Zoe set it up too. And then, but I'll notify her that it'll be Misty. It'll be the new chair. So Misty, the only other thing is you'll have to start the or the Zoom meeting. There's a city account with a password and stuff that the chair usually sets up.
If I have any questions, can I reach out to you like offline?
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's no problem. So, okay. I will make a motion to adjourn. Anybody have a second? Seconded. All right. Everybody in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. It's been a pleasure being the chair. I look forward to being just a regular member. Congratulations to Misty as our new chair of our committee.
And thank
And
you
we'll
for your
see
service as chair.
Yeah, thanks for everything that you did.
She will now take on as the third illustrious chair of the Energy Advisory Committee of the City of Easthampton.
Proud tradition.
Your previous two are still on the committee, so.
Awesome.
All right. Have a good day, everybody, and we'll talk next month.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good night.
So-
Aye all.
Bye-bye.